Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. So, before we read, let's invoke the blessing of the Lord. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurve Nama Vanchakalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhaiva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Anadiradir Govindaha सर्व कारण कारणम। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधर शिवासदि गौर भक्तविंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। So dear devotees, Ishwar Krishna Prabhu started Krishna book on Friday, but later on then Shyam Sundar Prabhu told all the admins that, and we recalled that Krishna book we already covered. So he asked to start the Srimad Bhagavatam, and he asked to do the first two cantos of Srimad Bhagavatam. So today we're gonna start Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1. And it starts with the introduction. So Canto 1, Creation, and we are reading the introduction. The conception of God and the conception of absolute truth are not on the same level. Srimad Bhagavatam hits on the target of the absolute truth. The conception of God indicates controller, whereas the conception of absolute truth indicates the summum bonum, or the ultimate source of all energies. Dear devotees, just give me 1 minute.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Maybe just me, but I don't hear anything.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Yeah. The conception of God indicates the controller, whereas the conception of absolute truth indicates the summum bonum, or the ultimate source of all energies. There is no difference of opinion about the personal feature of God as the controller, because a controller cannot be impersonal. Of course, modern government, especially democratic government, is impersonal to some extent. But ultimately, the chief executive head is a person, and the impersonal feature of the government is subordinate to the personal feature. So, without a doubt, whenever we refer to control over others, we must admit the existence of a personal feature. Because there are different controllers for different managerial position. There may be many small gods. According to Bhagavad Gita, any controller who has some specific extraordinary power is called a Vibhutimat Sattva, or controller empowered by the Lord. There are many Vibhutimat Sattva's, controllers or gods with various specific powers. But the absolute truth is one without a second. This Srimad Bhagavatam designates the absolute truth or summum bonum as the Param Satyam. The author of Srimad Bhagavatam, Srila Vyasadeva, first offers his respectful obeisances unto the Param Satyam, the absolute truth. And because of the Param Satyam is the ultimate source of all energies, the Param Satyam is the Supreme Person. The gods or the controllers are undoubtedly persons, but Param Satyam, from whom gods derive powers of control, is the Supreme Person. The Sanskrit word Ishvara, controller, conveys the import of God, but the Supreme Person is called Parameshvara or the Supreme Ishvara. The Supreme Person or Parameshvara is the Supreme Conscious Personality, and because he does not derive any power from any other source, he is supremely independent. In the Vedic literatures, Brahma is described as the supreme god or head of all other gods like Indra, Chandra, Varuna. But the Srimad Bhagavatam confirms that even Brahma is not independent as far as his power and knowledge are concerned. He received the knowledge in form of the Vedas from the Supreme Person who reside within the heart of every living being. That Supreme Personality knows everything directly and indirectly. Individual infinitesimal persons who are parts and parcel of Supreme Personality may know directly and indirectly everything about their bodies or external features. But the Supreme Personality knows everything about his external and internal features. The word Janmadi Yasya suggests that the source of all production, maintenance, and destruction is the same Supreme Conscious Person. Even in our present experience, we know that nothing is generated from the inert matter, but the inert matter can be generated from the living entity. For instance, by the contact with the living entity, the material body develops into a working machine. Man with a poor fund of knowledge mistake the bodily machinery to be the living being. But the fact is that living being is the basis of bodily machine. The bodily machine is useless as soon as the living spark is away from it. Similarly, the original source of all material energy is the Supreme Person. This fact is expressed in all Vedic literatures, and all exponents of spiritual science have accepted this truth. The living force is called Brahman, and one of the greatest Acharya teachers, namely Sripada Shankaracharya, has preached that Brahman is the substance, whereas cosmic world is category. The original source of all energies is the living force, and he is logically accepted as Supreme Person. It is therefore conscious of everything past, present, and future, and also of each and every corner of his manifestations, both material and spiritual. An imperfect living being does not even know what is happening within his own personal body. He eats his food but does not know how this food is transformed into energy and how it sustains his body. When a living being is perfect, he is aware of everything that happens. And since Supreme Person is all perfect, it is quite natural that he knows everything in all detail. Consequently, the perfect personality is addressed in the Srimad Bhagavatam as Vasudeva, or one lives everywhere in full consciousness and in full possession of his complete energy. All of this clearly explained in Srimad Bhagavatam, and the reader has ample opportunity to study this critically. In the modern age, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu preached the Srimad Bhagavatam by practical demonstration. It is easier to penetrate into the topics of Srimad Bhagavatam through the medium of Sri Chaitanya's causeless mercy. Therefore, a short sketch of his life and percept is inserted herein to help the reader understand the real merit of Srimad Bhagavatam. It is imperative that one learns the Srimad Bhagavatam from the person Bhagavatam. The person Bhagavatam is one whose very life is Srimad Bhagavatam in practice. Since Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the absolute personality of Godhead, he is both Bhagavan and Bhagavatam in person and in sound. Therefore, his process of approaching the Srimad Bhagavatam is practical for all people of the world. He was his wish that Srimad Bhagavatam be preached in every nook and corner of the world by those who happen to take their birth in India. Srimad Bhagavatam is science of Krishna, the absolute personality of Godhead, of whom we have preliminary information from the text of Bhagavad Gita. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has said that anyone, regardless of what he is, who is well versed in science of Krishna, Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita, can become an authorized preacher or preceptor in the science of Krishna. There is a need for the science of Krishna in human society for the good of all suffering humanity of the world. And we simply request the leaders of all nations to pick up this science of Krishna for their own good, for the good of society, and for the good of all the world's people. A short sketch of life and teaching of Lord Chaitanya, the preacher of Srimad Bhagavatam. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the great apostle of love of God and father of congregational chanting of holy name of the Lord, advented himself at Sri Dham Mayapur, a quarter in the city of Navdeep in Bengal, on the Falguna Purnima evening in the year 1407 Skabda, corresponding to February 1486 by Christian calendar. His father, Sri Jagannath Mishra, a learned Brahmana from the district of Sylhet, came to Navdeep as a student because at that time Navdeep was considered to be the center of education and culture. He domiciled on the banks of Ganges after marrying Srimati Sachi Devi, a daughter of Shila Nimbarka Chakravarti, the great learned scholar of Navdeep. Jagannath Mishra had a number of daughters by his wife, Srimati Sachi Devi, and most of them expired at an early age. Two surviving sons, Sri Vishwarupa and Vishambara, became at last the object of their parental affection. The, the tenth and the youngest son, who was named Vishambara, later became known as Nimai Pandit, and then, after accepting the renounced order of life, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu exhibited his transcendental activities for 48 years and then disappeared from this mortal world in the year 1455, Shkabda at Puri. For his 24 years, he remained as Navdeep as a student and householder. His first wife was Srimati Lakshmi Priya, who died at an early age when Lord was away from home. When he returned from East Bengal, he was requested by his mother to accept a second wife, and he agreed. His second wife was Srimati Vishnupriya Devi, who bore the separation of the Lord throughout her life, because Lord took the order of sannyas at the age of 24, when Srimati Vishnupriya was barely 16-year-old. After taking sannyasa, the Lord made his headquarters at Jagannath Puri, due to the request of his mother, Srimati Sachi Devi. The Lord remained for 24 years at Puri. For 6 years of this time, he traveled continuously all over India and especially throughout South India, preaching the Srimad Bhagavatam. Lord Chaitanya not only preached the Srimad Bhagavatam, but propagated the teachings of Bhagavad Gita as well as in most practical way. In Bhagavad Gita, Lord Sri Krishna is depicted as the absolute personality of Godhead. And his last teachings in that great book of transcendental knowledge instruct that one should give up all modes of religious activities and accept him, Lord Sri Krishna, as the only worshipable Lord. The Lord then assured that all his devotees would be protected from all sorts of sinful acts and that for them there would be no cause for anxiety. Unfortunately, despite Lord Krishna's direct order and the teachings of Bhagavad Gita, the less intelligent people misunderstand him to be nothing but a great historical personality, and thus they cannot accept him as the original personality of Godhead. Such men with a poor fund of knowledge are misled by many non devotees. Thus, the teachings of Bhagavad Gita were misinterpreted even by great scholars. After the disappearance of Lord Sri Krishna, there were hundreds of commentaries on the Bhagavad Gita by many erudite scholars, and almost every one of them was motivated by self interest. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the self same Lord Sri Krishna. This time, however, he appeared as a great devotee of the Lord in order to preach to the people in general and as well as to the religionists and philosophers about the transcendental position of Sri Krishna, the primeval Lord and the cause of all causes. The essence of his preaching is the Lord Sri Krishna, who appeared at Vrajbhumi, Vrindavan, as the son of King Vraja, Nanda Maharaj, is the supreme personality of Godhead and is therefore worshipable by all. Vrindavana Dham is non different from the Lord because name, fame, form, place, where the Lord manifests himself, are all identical with the Lord as absolute knowledge. Therefore, Vrindavana Dham is as worshipable as the Lord. The highest form of transcendental worship of the Lord was exhibited by the damsels of Rajbhumi in the form of pure affection for the Lord. And the Lord, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, recommends this process as the most excellent mode of worship. He accepts Srimad Bhagavata Puran as the spotless literature for understanding the Lord. He preaches that the ultimate goal of life for all human beings is to attain the stage of prema or love of God. So, dear devotees, we stop here and we'll continue Srimad Bhagavatam. This is a nectar. So, now we will read next book. So, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Now we'll read the next book, Srila Prabhupada Leelamrit. Let me see where Ishwar Krishna Prabhu has left on Friday. So, page number 96. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. His Holiness Satsvarup Das Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Prabhupada, materially there is a distinction, but when you come to spiritual platform, then when you discern the spirit soul within everything, that is equal. Like you are differently dressed in a red shirt and I am differently dressed. This difference must be there. There are so many men and women and they are differently dressed. You cannot say that they are all equal by dress. But within the dress, living entities, they are the same. We make this distinction materially, but not spiritually. I would like to ask one question, said another reporter. What is it that you are offering that has resulted in such an emotional response from all the people here? Prabhupada, because they are being spiritually educated, we are above the material platform. Therefore, we have no distinction that one is American, one is Indian, one is black, one is white. There is no such distinction. Everyone is servant of God. Is that right? Is that all right? Another reporter mentioned that there were many gurus and asked why Prabhupada thought his teaching was the truth. Prabhupada, because we speak the truth. We don't give bluff, saying, I am God. We know the actual position, that God is great and we are all servants. The question had been asked in typical reporter's attitude of irreverent interrogation, but Prabhupada was replying soberly, reflecting on his own position in relation to Krishna. How can I say I am God? He asked, and he lowered his head. No, we do not give bluff. We say the real truth. Therefore, it appeals. If I say something humbug, it may act for some time, but it will not endure. Reporter, your celebration is tomorrow. Of what will that celebration consist? Prabhupada, celebration? It is remembering Krishna or the Lord. He, with his brother and sister, visited Kurukshetra, a place in India. So, in the memory of that visit, we observed Rath Yatra. Srila Prabhupada got into the rented Cadillac limousine along with the Kirtananda Swami, Brahmananda Swami, and Ravindra Swarupa, the Philadelphia temple president. Quote, so again same question was raised, said Prabhupada. Quote, reply was all right? Yes, said Brahmananda. It was very nice. Prabhupada, materially there is distinction. You are differently dressed, I am differently dressed. But spiritually there is no distinction. The chauffeur glanced to the back seat. Quote, if you want any more air in the back, there is a control over there. We can put on the air conditioner, Srila Prabhupada, said Brahmananda. Oh, all right, said Prabhupada. But the sky condition is better. They opened the windows. Prabhupada recalled that he had been to Philadelphia twice before. In 1969, he had come from New York City with some devotees to lecture at the Temple University. And back in 1965, after leaving Butler, Pennsylvania, he had come to the University of Pennsylvania for a meeting with a Professor Norman Brown. Ravinder Swarup told how he had been a student at Temple University and had enrolled in Swami Nikhilananda's class a year after Srila Prabhupada had spoken there. Ravindra Swarup, the students remembered you. They told me you had asked Swami Nikhilananda, so you are studying Vedanta. But what is Vedanta? And no one knew. Then you said that Veda means knowledge and Anta means and. So Vedanta means end of knowledge, and that is Krishna. They had never heard that before, even though they had so many hours of courses in Vedanta. Prabhupada, that is difficulty. Those who are foolish people are taking the leading part. The one who has no knowledge is taking the part of a teacher. Just like this, one does not know what is Vedanta, and he is reading Vedanta. It is very simple truth. Veda means knowledge, Anta means end, and there must be some ultimate goal. But the modern process is that we go on unlimitedly, but we never come to an end. It is not like that. What do you think? Ravinder Swarup. Yes, it's a fact. No conclusion. They passed a large junkyard filled with scrapped automobiles, motor car. Prabhupada said. Kirtananda, that is the end of their knowledge, a pile of junk. Prabhupada, yes. Their time is spent in breaking and building. That's all. They do not inquire. Why breaking and building? Why not permanent? That question does not arise. And they cannot solve it. They think this breaking and building is the nature, but we are giving information of another nature. Whereas there is no breaking and building permanent. But they cannot believe that there is a such thing. We are giving that information how you can keep yourself eternal. This is the greatest gift to the human society. He wants to live eternally, but he does not know how to live eternally. His energy is being spoiled by the skyscraper building construction, but he is not very serious to construct his body eternal. We are speaking this in our meetings everywhere, but they have no brain to understand. They rode around sharply winding curves along the side Schuylkill River, passing Fairmount Park. The devotees pointed out to Prabhupada that it contained 1,000 acres of forest land. Prabhupada asked Kirtananda Swami how far it was to New York to New Vrindavan, and they began talking. When Prabhupada asked about Grastas there, Kirtananda replied, "We are developing very nice householder couples at New Vrindavan. Very good families. That is essential," said Prabhupada. The peaceful life of householders that is required. The ISKCON center was converted two-story house. The temple room was packed with devotees. Another filled the halfway, straining to see Prabhupada as he entered. "Thank you very much for your kind reception," said Srila Prabhupada from his seat in the temple room. "The press reporters were asking me that why do we make distinction between man and woman and black and white, but we make distinction not in that way." Srila Prabhupada explained that the attempt to make everyone equal materially would be a failure always, just as the United Nations attempt at unity was a failure. Bhagavad Gita states that one with equal vision recognizes the differences between the bodies, but see all beings as one spiritually. Srila Prabhupada continued, "If we make unfair distinction between man and woman, or black and white, then how in our temple are we all enjoying together? Because we are actually equal on the spiritual platform. We do not say that you are a woman, you cannot become my disciple, or you are black, therefore you cannot become my disciple. No, we welcome everyone so that people may not misunderstand. You can just issue one statement that we say if we want to see everyone equally, treat everyone equally. Then you have to come to spiritual platform, Krishna consciousness. Materially it is not possible, but the aim should be one. If artificially you do not make a distinction, that will not stay. Just like in your country, the blacks and whites, they have equal rights. But why they fight sometimes? Racial fight. Because it is on material platform. Our point is that you come to the spiritual platform, then this equality will be possible. Practically, you can see here while you are chanting, dancing, and the boy is dancing, the father is dancing, the black is dancing, white is dancing, the young is dancing, the old is dancing. So you can see practically everyone dancing, and they are not artificially dancing like a dog, but by spiritual ecstasy. After his talk, Prabhupada called for question. Ravinder Swarup, what is the best way to deal with the skepticism? Prabhupada, skepticism, rascalism, devotees laugh. We are not going to deal with rascalism. We are going to deal with sense. Skepticism, they do not believe in anything. Everything is false. They are so disappointed. They think everyone is false. Everything is false. We are not going to deal with such men. What is the use? Is not that skepticism? What is that skepticism? Ravindra Sarup, disappointment. That's all. Prabhupada. So why should one be disappointed? We say that you should come to spiritual platform and you will be happy. We want to deliver him from the platform of his disappointment. Sometimes one being very disappointed. committed suicide. We say, why are you disappointed? You come to the spiritual platform and you'll be happy. So we are not going to accept his philosophy, skepticism, but we want to deliver him from his fallen condition. That is our mission. The living entity, the spirit soul, is by nature happy. There is no question of disappointment. You see Krishna's picture anywhere, how happy they are. The gopis are happy. The cowherd boys are happy. Krishna is happy, simply happiness. Where is the disappointment? So you come to the platform and then you will also be happy. Come to Krishna, come and dance with Krishna, eat with Krishna. That is information we are giving. What is the question of disappointment? Come to Krishna. Krishna therefore personally comes to show how happy life he is in Vrindavan. And he is inviting, come to me. Prabhupada continued his ecstatic description of happiness in Krishna consciousness and then concluded, is that all right? Many voices together answered, yes. There was no disappointment or skepticism in Srila Prabhupada's presence. Srila Prabhupada had come to Philadelphia primarily for the Rath Yatra. Since 1970, devotees had been holding Rath Yatra in Philadelphia, although early festival had been small. For the first festival, the devotees had taken small deities on the procession on a decorated cigar box. They had placed the deities on an altar on the bank of Squeaky Hill River and held kirtanas while people picnicked and lay around in the sunshine. The next year festival had been a little bigger, with foot-high deities riding on the palanquin. It was still not a very ambitious festival, but Srila Prabhupada had written in appreciation. I am so glad to hear how nicely you performed Rath Yatra festival. Next year you can perform the regular ceremony with the cart as we are doing it in San Francisco and London. That will be very nice. It does not matter if you construct a small one, but you can hold a festival. Ravindra Swarup had become a temple president just after Prabhupada's letter had arrived, and he had resolved to have a real Rath Yatra cart in 1972. So devotees had done it, a small cart, but a cart pulled in procession down to Washington Square Park. By 1973, they had made a large cart, and devotees from other cities had come to help with the festival. Again, Srila Prabhupada responded, at Rath Yatra, there must be either one or three carts. It is very good news to hear that one television station is interested to do a special program on the Rath Yatra festival. These festivals are good for showing to people in general that Krishna consciousness is real enjoyment. Everything else is simply artificial. Your plans for Rath Yatra festival are very nice. In the summer of 1974, Ravinder Swarup has written to Prabhupada about the preaching activities in Philadelphia and had sent photos of their Jagannath deities. Srila Prabhupada had been moved by the pictures. Quote, I want to thank you 100 times for the excellent way you are worshipping the deities there, as I can see from the color photographs you have sent. From my childhood, I was also worshipping Lord Jagannath. When I was 6 years old, my father gave me a Ratha, and I was performing Rath Yatra in my neighborhood. Now in Western world, you are worshipping Lord Jagannath so gorgeously, and it pleases me very much. Thank you again for the way you are conducting the deity worship in Philadelphia temple. As for the Rath Yatra ceremony, you should go on with it, and I shall attend there next year. But you go on holding a splendid ceremony for the people of the city. I am sure that it will be a success. So, dear devotees, we'll stop here, and tomorrow we will learn about more pastimes in 1975. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Gurudev ki jai. His Holiness Sasrup Das Goswami Maharaj ki jai. So anybody has any question, correction, chastisement before we continue chanting?
Prabhu, how long will the Bhagavatam classes, how long will it take for the Bhagavatam to be completed approximately? How many weeks?
So Prabhuji, that depends how much we read, but as of now we are reading like around 15 minutes every day. We just started today.
Sure.
We just started from the introduction, but I mean, if you take 15 minutes, it will take years, Prabhuji. If you complete the full all the cantos, but as of now, Shyam Sundar Prabhu
Okay.
told to
Really looking forward
finish
to it.
2 cantos.
Thank you. Yeah. Thanks, Prabhu.
Yeah.
Haribol.
Hare Krishna. Any other question from anybody? So, dear devotees, as Srila Prabhupada has written in the introduction, right, that people think that the humans written the book and this book are not truth, right? So I was traveling with my daughter. My daughter was saying in the school, sometimes people claim that, oh, these books are written by some human, or they say that you are saying Krishna is God, but anybody can manufacture God. So I was telling, even if some person think that, all right, today I want to make a fictitious personality of a God, and I will write all the glorification about a fictitious God. Even then, you get a expert author of the world and say that, all right, if you want to create a fictitious God, write great qualities and then show the book. Even then, if we read about Krishna, Krishna's pastime can defeat that book. Because even your imagination will not go where the Krishna is. You will still find in some scriptures some story about Krishna, that story can beat any fictitious God. Unless you are already God, you cannot become God. God is someone who has no competitor. And as
One more thing, if I may add, Prabhu,
yes,
I think you mentioned already before, but I want to highlight when God's word is read, naturally it will connect with the spirit soul.
yes,
Versus if a artificial worldly thing, which is similar to God's word, is spoken, it won't stick to the spirit soul. Is my belief.
hmm. Yes, because God is spiritual.
Exactly. Only God's word can stick very firmly to us, but the
Yes,
rest of the worldly stuff, even though it may come close, it will not stick to us.
yes, 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 you're right. And that's why when we were reading Prabhupada Lilamrita, there was a word skepticism. And when we are saying skepticism is disappointment. So they will say something, but it will not stick. They cannot live their life with that. So, so God is somebody, right, who has no competitor. And this God, right, in Sunday school, I was telling children yesterday, God, G stands for generator, O stands for organization, and D stands for destruction. So there are controllers who are performing this God activities. But beyond God, there is absolute truth. And that's why Prabhupada was beautifully was telling, what is Vedanta? Veda means knowledge, Anta means end. Where the knowledge ends, there you find Krishna. Because Krishna is the end of all knowledge. And that's why, it's required that we are so fortunate that we somehow, by Krishna's mercy, we come into contact with Srimad Bhagavatam. It is said there is no question in the whole universe which cannot be answered by Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam. The only thing is we have to read. The problem is people don't read, and then they just ask questions that it is not. And I often ask, hey, have you read Bhagavad Gita? He said, no, I have not read, but I think this should be like that. How can you think? You have not read Bhagavad Gita and you come for discussion, isn't it? So this reading we should do, and Srila Prabhupada has put their blood and sweat. Like whole night, 3 hours only he was sleeping, and he has written. So we should definitely read this. It's so good. You know, every day I feel that we are so fortunate that we got this thing. Otherwise, what useless life would be if we don't know this and leave this body without knowing. So, so thank you so much, dear devotees. Anything else from anybody before we continue chanting? All right. So now we'll stop here. Vancha kalpatarubhesha kripa sindhu bhevcha patitanam pavane vaishnavi bheva anant koti vaishnavi.